an org chart basically of what it would look like, or what the positions would be.
No,
but-
I know, and I know it sounds like nitpicking, but it really is when you're talking about actual positions versus functions, because the RSA, and that's gonna be one of my other things here, the RSA doesn't speak to the positions that you have to have. It speaks to the functions. And that, so that was one of my other adjustments on page 3, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph up again. Committee members spoke to the need to show that all positions as required by statute were being filled.
So it should be functions.
Correct, yes.
Say that again?
Instead of positions, under committee members spoke to the need to show that all positions as required by statute.
You want to say change
The functions, yeah.
Okay.
That's also under the Rob Collins paragraph.
I understand
No,
what
it's
you're
under
saying,
the
too,
Kate
too,
Sherman
and I
one.
understand that you
Oh,
don't want
okay.
to
Page over, right here.
tell us the
3 of
statement
5.
that you
All right.
want to say that.
Where'd she go? There she is. Okay.
Especially when it's a little
Functions.
conflicting of what's in the
Positions,
actual,
this would
yeah.
change
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay.
On that same page, up 2 more paragraphs, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Earl Metzler, spoke to the report's erroneous claim that the superintendent works 80 to 90% to Hampstead.
Portion.
That was not an erroneous claim. That was actually taken directly from the Hampstead minutes. So,
I mean,
He
if
wasn't
claimed it was
including
erroneous.
something, but I think his position was that the claim in the Hampstead minutes was erroneous.
well,
That's what-
now you're stating that the record is erroneous?
I'm stating, I believe that's what the superintendent was articulating at the meeting.
If we
Well,
could
Yes,
clarify.
that is what he was articulating. So let's find a way to dress this up to reflect what he articulated without going back and rehashing. That is what he said. That was his stance. Whether we agree or disagree with it,
So
That's fine to
it's-
put that his
So-
opinion is that the minutes.
No. So his opinion, it's not.
spoke to
that
his
the-
belief.
That the Hampstead minutes are erroneous. Our report is not erroneous. We're going
Right,
off
so
the
the
accepted Hampstead minutes.
He wasn't claiming that your report was
Yeah,
erroneous. He said that the claim about,
But he said,
We made the claim in our
So it
report
would be
based on.
Based on the Hampstead minutes. And he's suggesting that the Hampstead minutes saying 80 to 90% of that position was dedicated simply to Hampstead was inaccurate, was wrong. That was his stance.
Yes.
that's fine. But
That's
this
fine.
says that he spoke to the report's erroneous claim. The report was not erroneous.
So the report may be referring, and I don't know, may be referring to Hampstead's report.
It was.
The report,
Well, no,
Well,
it's not
those are-
Hampstead's report. It would be Hampstead's minutes.
minutes.
okay,
The report is
board minutes
Well, it was also
Erroneous.
video.
claim.
the Hampstead board minutes and videos. And video.
Spoke to his belief that, would that be acceptable?
Spoke to his belief that the Hampstead board minutes and video were erroneous. Erroneously claimed the assistant superintendent.
That's fine.
So, because to me, the report is speaking about this report, not Hampstead. The Hampstead.
And not that the record, that it was erroneous in their report, because the video clearly states it was a mistake made on the part of the speaker in the video.
Yes, he
That's
felt,
correct. He said
That was
all
his
due
intention.
respect
Right, no,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, no, I know, but that's just to say that the minutes aren't wrong from their meeting, it's just the information was wrong.
Okay, so,
So, yeah, just to clarify.
yeah, I just want to know, how is this going to be, what's the wording we're looking at now?
that Dr. Metzler spoke to his belief that the Hampstead minutes and Vimeo erroneously claimed the assistant superintendent's work consisted of 89%.
That sounds good to me.
But didn't he state that the assistant superintendent herself was incorrect in stating that?
He did.
So I would like that reflected in the minutes. So, spoke to his belief that the Hampstead board's
But the Hampstead, well, the assistant superintendent's claim or statement.
That they spent 80 to 90% of their time dedicated to Hampstead was erroneous.
Right.
Got it.
Okay, so now how is this reading?
I got it right here. So he spoke to his belief that the assistant superintendent's claim as reflected in the Hampstead School Board minutes and Vimeo were erroneous. That the assistant superintendent's work consisted of 80 to 90%.
I have one more thing, and I promise I'm not trying to pick on you, Kathy.
It's all right, I don't feel
This
picked
is
on.
this is a lot of minutes, and this was a lot to go through.
Yeah, it's an amazing amount of.
On page 4, the second paragraph down. Again, Dr. Metzler spoke to the line item, also including compensated absences and retirement benefits, to which the committee has made inaccurate assumptions to make the number look artificially attractive.
We could just
I
add,
think that's, I do not, I think this committee used the numbers provided to us by the business administrator, and while he may believe that we did something to make it look artificially attractive, I don't at all believe that's what this committee did.
Well, I think the minutes are accurate representation of what Dr. Metzler said.
But that's
well,
his belief.
I would
that
add
he-
which
We not
he
agree.
believes.
So
I
Dr.
would say-
Metzler spoke to his belief that,
Because he
His
is a
belief.
member of this committee, albeit a non-voting
Well, that's
member.
true, yeah.
So, you know, when he is making a statement about what this committee did, he is part of this committee.
He
So-
still made the statement, so we just need to make sure it's, that it's.
Well,
his-
I inserted what Mark had indicated, which would make sense. Dr. Metzler spoke to his belief that the line item, et cetera.
Yep.
And then it speaks to, he opined in that way, and it's an accurate reflection of the minutes. Is that okay?
oh yeah.
But I go back to
I'm still
agreeing
a
with
little
Jen. I disagree, because he's part of the committee, so he can't,
He
the
wasn't
committee
the,
has, doesn't matter if he was there or not, the committee is the committee. He can say that he spoke to his belief that the line item, including compensated absences and retirement benefits, were inaccurate, but he can't make the statement to which the committee, because he's part of the committee. It would be like, that's not the way that it's done. He's on the committee.
and he wasn't the only one on the committee that had that concern. I had also earlier expressed that concern as well, that the way the line items were brought out seemed to be not reflective, unless you really dove into them to the general public, to be reflective. So he is a committee member, he did express that, he wasn't the only one that had that concern. So I don't think we can touch that without really altering what was said. And this is supposed to be a reflection of,
Okay, that's fine. We'll just add to his belief.
Yep.
I think that was all I
page
had.
4, are you sure?
Did you have something, Diana? Or you just-
I just had a couple
She had a
trivial
couple
things I already
typos,
gave to
yeah.
Mrs.
She gave
Belcher.
those to me, thank you.
So,
Did you have anything?
So, there's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes with a second, and we have noted changes on the fourth paragraph from the bottom on page 2, noted changes on the fourth and seventh paragraphs on page 3, and the second paragraph on page 4. So, do we want to vote on the minutes as amended, or as? Okay. Should we make a separate amendment on this? or
No,
just-
I don't think that you need to. I
Okay.
think that the vote to
As
approve with
discussed.
noted changes.
With noted changes. Okay, all in favor? Great, okay, moving on. All right, so, in your packet, you have just a little thing I wrote up, on the State Board of Education meeting. The plan was presented to the Board of Education on October 10th. Jen Silva, myself, and Attorney Murdo attended. The Hampstead School Board Chair and Vice Chair were there, along with their counsel. The State Board requested that the Withdrawal Committee address the liability of section of the plan in more detail. council did look this up. I have not seen the draft minutes because they are not posted yet. The board, the State Board of Education motion was to return the withdrawal plan to Timberlane to address deficiencies in the plan that do not address liabilities. I asked if we needed to conduct a second public hearing, and the State Board responded that we would not. They would only like to see this portion of the plan. They do not want to review the entire plan next time. There was discussion, and I don't know if anybody had time to watch this.
I think they said
The
the link
discussion
wasn't
was,
working.
It wasn't working.
this was not the direct link, this was just the,
Oh, because it says here that the video of the meeting could be, you can watch the meeting on this link.
Well,
couldn't
I-
find
I
it.
didn't
It's
try this link,
non-functional.
but in a previous
You can find
email,
it.
there, I found it.
there was another, so, sorry. The request, the council for Hampstead, and Jen can confirm this, was looking for only 2 or 3 sentences to be added into this liability section. So what council and I worked to draft language that addresses Hampstead's concerns. I do want to let you know that, so the Board of Education asked us to come back with proposed language regarding liabilities, specifically with respect to the post-employment benefits. If you watch the video, that's what the discussion was about. Hampstead, Hampstead is now raising issues with our council with respect to the lease and also the superintendent's contract. Those were both in the original plan. There was no discussion or about them at the DOE meeting. The DOE did not have any questions with regards to those, just with regards to the post-employment benefit liabilities. Hampstead is also, you'll note that language that's proposed says that Timberlane will pay this out on an annual basis. Hampstead Council would prefer that we pay this out as a lump sum. I'm not in agreement with that, so that's why this language reflects that. So I don't know if people have questions. So what I did in your packets, and this, what will happen is, the only thing that will probably go up to the Board of Education for they want to just review this section on the disposition of SAU55 assets and liabilities. Because Timberlane Council is in contact with Board of Education Council to kind of make sure everything flows correctly.
So this is what's in the plan today.
This is what's in the plan today.
And then this is the proposed.
And what we are looking to do is to vote this as the withdrawal committee to go into the plan. And then the plan will ultimately be resubmitted, but the board is only looking to look at this section of the plan. They're not gonna go back and, start looking at other sections of the plan. So also you have, and these numbers are reflected in here, I requested back in September a better idea of what the post-employment liabilities were for the Timberlane portion, should we withdraw. And that was provided to the board on September 27th. Hampstead also has this. There's no secret here. So these numbers are what you see reflected here.
I think it's important to note, too, that the Board of Ed did recognize that whatever numbers we put in, because that number is always changing, so, whatever numbers we put into this plan, they recognize will not be the same probably a year or whatever out. In that those numbers have been going down, even from, the document we originally got when we met over the summer compared to what we had as of September 27th.
And they did not ask for these numbers to be included here, but I felt it was, I just feel for Timberlane's best interest in the withdrawal plan that we actually have some numbers there as opposed to, we could just, we'll put this summary in the appendix also, but I just feel like it would be good to see those numbers because there were questions at the Board of Education with regards to, and this, I sent you all this letter from Hampstead's counsel stating that there was a net pension liability of $1.624 million. That goes with the employees. That's all been addressed here in the new language because it was appearing that there was a lot of liability here. And the compensated absences, on his report, his letter was $278,000 for compensated absences. And you'll see that right now, we're looking at Timberlane's liability on compensated absences is $22,000, so. Yeah.
One thing I noticed is, the last time I asked Mr. Dowd if we had any retirement incentives active, he said no, and yet here it says we have $72,000 for Timberlane's share. So I'm wondering where that came from. So I wish he had been in attendance tonight, but.
I know all I can do is go by what I have here. And again, this is why I think it's important that these be paid out on an annual basis when we actually see this, because this could be, again, I'm not really sure, I asked for this, but I didn't do a deep dive and say, what people are these and what does this, so I don't know.
How will it change rolling forward?
I thought I asked about that when we met, because we got this, did we get this at the
got
SAU
it.
meeing?
It was either the SAU meeting or I think that we got this at our Timberlane meeting, because I asked for it from the
But there
Timberlane.
was, and so I did ask the question, and some of it, oh gosh, I wish I could remember. I thought it had to do with, it was an assumption about every, it's hard because you don't know who's leaving or who's
Right.
staying, and I
Okay,
think to
this-
Kim's
okay,
point,
so
that's why
this
you
is-
don't want to pay it
yeah,
all at
this is-
once, because you
Which
don't know
makes sense.
who's going to be here or not.
This is an assumption that people that are currently here are gonna be staying here and that they could avail themselves, and this is why the language got to be very back and forth, because let's say I'm here, we withdraw, and Timberlane withdraws, and in 10 years I retire, but I have 15 years. Well, Timberlane has a liability of 5 years towards that 15-year retirement incentive. And you don't get this incentive unless you've been here, I think it's 11 years. So the question is, okay, so now Timberlane has a liability of 5 years. So that's somehow embedded in here. But are we gonna have to pay it out at their current rate of pay? Or we're gonna pay it at the rate at which we left? So we're reflecting that we're gonna pay it out at the rate at which we left the withdrawal. Should that liability become due in 10 years? Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Where is that exactly reflected in the language? That makes intuitive sense. It seems to be rational and appropriate.
Believe me, I've spent much time with this language. It's right in here somewhere. I know
It's not very long. It was one of those, like, kind of like, you wanted to put
this
enough, but you
only
don't
in
want to
color?
put too much in
It
color.
says.
On an annual basis.
On an
Post-employment
annual
liabilities
basis,
shall be based on the pay rate at the time of withdrawal.
The amount is,
Yep,
and
yep.
this also came up, the apportionment is based on, as calculated at the end of 2021. So that's kind of what I'm speaking to there.
Is that statement in there twice, or am I just reading it twice?
I don't know. I don't.
It says the amount of TRSD's portion will be determined using the apportionment for each district as calculated the 2021 budget year. And then the exact same sentence on the, it must be for 2 different reasons.
Where,
Oh,
There's-
it is,
There's
it
the
is.
insurance
It's for
subsidy
two
and then
different
the
reasons.
post-employment
It's
liabilities.
also, we've also noted, which I think is well beyond what the Board of Education was requesting, is that if there are unknown or undefined liabilities, that we will pay those out at the same rate and proportion as would be expected. And, you know, if for some reason Timberlane was trying to skirt that, there's always the remedy of the courts, so. The other thing that we did was, because this did not come up in front of the Board of Education, but came up in subsequent communications between council, is Hampstead Council was worried that Timberlane was gonna leave and still require Hampstead to pay the lease for the SAU. So at the last Timberlane board meeting, the board voted, should we adopt the plan as a district, that will provide the requisite notice to terminate the lease, which is a year notice, to avoid any continued lease obligations for either Timberlane or the Hampstead.
Yeah, That we had already reviewed the lease and that it was just a year at a time. This is the first I've heard that it actually goes out to 2022.
The lease is a 5-year lease, but
Is it
within
5
the
years?
termination is a year.
Okay.
So this,
Was that acceptable for Hempstead if we gave them a 1-year notice? Or
well,
is
that's
that-
what's
That's what the
required
lease
by the
says.
lease.
Oh,
What they were,
okay.
what they were,
I get it.
you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
But it has now been a vote of the board that the lease will terminate should the withdrawal pass.
Oh, that makes sense.
I think this is quite a bit more language than what the Board of Education was actually expecting us to put in there. When we were up there, they did talk about conditionally approving the plan with us just adding 2 or 3 sentences that the Hampstead attorney had recommended. He actually came up and spoke about what he thought those 2 or 3 sentences should look like that would be agreeable to him and the Hampstead Board. Because it was something that was so simple, the Board of Ed said, well, we still have time to get this in there, approved, and back to you for the ballot, so let's just,
And this is reflective of that request, in your opinions?
well, he wanted 2 or 3 sentences, and this is.
The
is way
nature
more
of
than
it,
2
the
or
Yes,
3.
nature of it
yes,
is.
yes, absolutely.
So it's basically that we will be paying an apportioned amount. Our fair share.
And as I said, Hampstead would prefer it as a one-time payment when we withdraw, but
Does
I
make
don't
sense.
think, from
Agreed.
Timberland's point of view, that doesn't. And again, I mean, it could be negotiated out at some point if the withdrawal passes, but it's a plan. It's not, this is not a contract, and I think what happened was, there was a lot of it was trying to be made into a contract, and it's not, it's a plan. We are not contractually, making a contract here.
I
But
mean,
this
it's
is the
it's
plan.
money that we would, what's interesting is, when I read through these minutes, is a lot of talk about, what these costs are and what the cost to withdraw would be. And, as we went through this a little bit, I don't know that these are necessarily a cost to withdraw, because these are costs that Timberlane
Correct.
is going to incur whether we stay or whether we go. They're not an additional cost we incur to withdraw. It's money that we
Business
would
as
owe
usual.
regardless.
Right. And then it also, and I think it mentions here, the other thing that is not in these post-employment benefit liabilities is this direct payment of insurance. And so that's why that other paragraph down there,
And that's the pennies on a dollar thing.
that's the 8250, that's the direct payment. And that was the last page of the withdrawal plan, or the appendix, because that was one of the last documents that we got.
So this basically is a plan and an intent, and an example of how much it would be if it were on that date, roughly.
Well, no, this is not how much we would pay on this date. This is our total liability.
Well, that's the amount of the liability, and then on the annual basis, how much would we be paying of that?
Well,
Depends who stays and goes.
it also depends on, it depends on who stays and goes, and it also depends on whether or not they've used that vacation. Some people could use their vacation time, some people could use their sick time. Somebody could want to leave out of a contract, and you can negotiate that you can leave early off your contract, but you're not going to get the retirement incentive.
So if we do the lump sum, then, we're paying in present dollars and on things that may or may not happen.
Right.
Okay,
So it makes no sense to do a single lump sum payment.
right. Unless we get a discount of some sort for paying in advance. But that's just me.
I still like it.
I'm haggling all the time.
No, I like the language. I'm glad you guys explained to us what, that Hampstead was there and what the BOE was asking for, and I think this covers, and I'm okay to add this.
But just
Don't
for,
have any alterations or changes.
I just wanted to say, for the people who are watching at home who can't see this, it looks like the total amount is, of the retirement incentive and compensated absences, the total for Timberland's share is $94,182, And for the sick leave and vacation leave, Timberlane's share is 129,427, approximately.
And this is, I believe, all SAU employees, correct?
Yes, that would be for every
Every-
SAU
That would be if
employee.
we completely started with 0 employees.
Correct.
So this is pretty much the maximum is
This is
around
the maximum, and
225.
not, well, Timberlane's
Thousand.
portion, because I can tell you, the proposed SAU budget had the maximum number with the assumption that everybody is going away, pretty much, or that there was, and it was right around 300,000. So yeah, this reflects the maximum liability.
And again, we would be paying it anyway.
We wouldn't be paying in it anyway. And it's, oh, we would be paying it.
If-
It's our
if we
liability.
did not
We
withdraw.
are not trying to not pay
We're,
our
we're
liability.
either gonna carry it with us and owe it at some point, or,
Right, It's just like we've been carrying it now, we've been carrying this liability as an SAU, under the SAU umbrella. It's not new money that,
It just reflects our proportionate
yeah,
skin in the game.
It's a liability. There we
yeah.
go.
So what I'm looking for is to, and again, I asked council about this, how do we approach this? I'm looking for a motion to accept this new language to be inserted in the withdrawal plan.
So moved.
second,
And Jen seconds. Is there any discussion on the language? All in favor?
Yeah, I'm still trying to.
That was
form
Karen
thought,
and
sorry.
Jen, is that
Sorry.
correct?
do you need a minute?
Wait,
Yeah, I'm
hold
still
on.
trying to, sorry. I just want to make sure that this covers when people move one way or the other. And just basically our intent is to pay for any employees that stay with SAU 55. I'm just trying to get the intent here, and if that's written down.
That is not, that's not,
Okay, any pension liabilities follow the employees and will be the sole responsibility of the employee's employer.
right.
Okay.
But the post-employment liabilities don't, they're still there. They don't,
All right, so it says the SAU 55 is paying the amounts to the qualifying retirees on an annual basis. I don't see here where it says that the intent is for us to pay SAU 55 should we withdraw on an annual basis.
hey, who? Oh, you mean Timberlane on the liabilities?
All right, so we're just laying out what the liabilities are and when they're paid now. We're not saying what our promise
Says
is.
TRSD shall, on an annual basis, pay its portion of post-employment benefit
Okay.
Agreed upon
liabilities and insurance subsidies
or
as
share
calculated.
responsibility for those liabilities according to the report.
Okay.
This is what you're looking for. This is the
Yeah.
language you're looking for.
Well,
All right.
it's also, that's for the unknown, but it's also, it is, and Karen was right, it's stated twice. Timberlane shall on an annual basis pay its portion of any post-employment liabilities. And then
Okay.
it's stated again that if there are unknown liabilities, we would also pay those.
Okay. All right, so we think we've covered all the bases and said.
Known
we're
and
putting-
unknown, so.
Known and
I hope
unknown,
so.
and our intent is to pay our fair
Quite a long
share
time covering
in
bases.
proportion.
I'm actually very impressed. I mean, if Hampstead was there with council and all they wanted was a few additional sentences, I think that is a tribute to the withdrawal plan that we put together.
Yeah, the Board of Education, they did ask about the educational impact, to be fair.
They could not believe that we didn't
I know,
believe
yeah,
there
it
was
was,
any.
they couldn't believe that there was, there was,
We asked Hampstead.
But Hampstead, yeah, Hampstead.
and even after
stood up and
Hampstead
said-
answered, they were still like, I don't.
Yeah,
You sure?
so. Okay, any other discussion on this motion? Okay, all in favor? 3, 4, 5, 6.
The other
in favor.
interesting thing, oh, sorry, go ahead. Six in favor, yeah.
Go ahead.
The other interesting comment that they made at the end that I definitely took notice of was they kind of looked around in consensus, like, okay, so this is going to be the expectation we have of any plans that come before us from here on out. Kind of indicating that they recognize that this hadn't been addressed to this detail in any previous plans,
So
but
you raised the bar for everybody else.
Well, yeah, I think that's fair. I'm glad Jen said that, because I don't want this committee to think that it was something that we should have done that we didn't. This was really something that they had not, because, as I said, I've read a dozen plans, as probably most people have. You do not see this sort of language in anybody else's
Well, the
plan.
GASB that lays all this stuff out is fairly recent. Within the last year or two, I think people have had, the accountants have had to start calculating this.
Yeah, but their attorney said this was 2010, which I don't know. I'm not disputing that, but I've seen plans that were subsequent to 2010 and not seen any of this sort of language, but it is what it is. From now on, other people are gonna, this is the
yes,
bar that they
there was
will have
another
to go.
district that was up there that was watching closely, because they're,
Yeah. We
they're.
told them
Cursing
they-
you, cursing you.
No, well, they're in the whole, yes,
They were trying to withdraw from a district, not an
but then
SAU.
they said their next step would be
Yeah,
from the SAU,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we
Well,
we
that's
told them
good
to
to know.
stick around.
Yeah, we followed the rules and they're just,
Yeah.
you know, improving the process.
Now, because we've changed this section of the plan, we should also revote the plan, which means that we will change the final page of the plan where it says the vote at the committee was.
Okay.
So, I'm going to ask, I don't know.
So another signature page too, is that what you mean? Or an addendum or?
No, I didn't even think about the signature page. Well, I'm gonna have to ask her about this, signature page if I don't. Well, we have the signature page doesn't, it's its own entity, so.
And it doesn't reflect the vote, does it? Or,
Right. Well, the only person that didn't sign that's here is Mark, so. If Mark signs, we need a new signature page. We'll have to add your name to this. Anyway, so.
see what happens.
So I'm looking for a motion to recommend that TRSD withdraw from SAU55 after a one-year transition period to begin the operation of its own SAU on July 1, 2021. So that's the motion that we made before, that's in the plan, so I'm requesting Barbara's
I will
making
make
that
the motion, and it's for Kathy, it's just the last sentence on the conclusion page. You just copy and
And I'll second that.
And Karen seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
So if I throw my hand up, we need a new signature page, is that?
Well,
You're gonna have to redo that page anyway.
I have to redo this page anyway. So 6. Corporate 6, 0. So it will be 6-0. So that part will get, and I'm sure what the lawyer will do is submit the whole plan again and probably just pull out those 2 pages so the board doesn't have to look at the whole plan again.
So we're gonna have to have a new signature page, which, do you wanna sign it?
If it's going to cause chaos,
Would it be
no.
possible to
That's-
just print a new signature page before we leave, Kathy?
Or can Mark-
Possibly. I can run
Can I
upstairs
just
and see
throw
if
my John Hancock
yeah,
in there
when
and
we,
read it?
after we,
I don't mind
if
sticking
you're
around for a
comfortable with
couple
just,
minutes.
I can go upstairs and see if I've got it in a version that doesn't already have the signatures on it.
because I think
I don't always save all the versions, so I'll have to see what I've got, but it'll only take me a couple minutes to look. So if
Okay.
you wanna do that after the meeting,
Yeah,
the
rather
only
than
thing
make
you'll be
everybody
doing
come
is,
back.
yeah, the only thing you'll be doing is signing it.
Yeah.
No, it's just an administrative part.
Okay,
May I ask a question?
sure.
So, deliberative session.
Yes.
What is our role in the deliberative session? I'm guessing that the warrant, the language in the warrant is established by RSA.
Correct.
And that participants in the deliberative session will not be allowed to modify the language, is that correct?
That is my understanding.
Okay, so then what, as a committee, what is our role? I'm guessing you'll do some slides again like you did at the public hearing, or no?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
We have already had the public hearing on the plan. I should have asked council about that, but
This is a
the
board,
plan
but
has
this
already
is,
been approved. I don't think there's, I guess there could be discussion on the plan, but the plan has already been approved and the warrant will have already been.
So the question on the ballot is
The question on the ballot is going to be.
but it's not really a board's question,
Right.
right?
Well,
But
this committee doesn't put that forward, it's the school board
The
puts that
school board will
forward.
put this forward, so
This is the end of it.
this
It's
should.
the end for us,
yeah,
and then the school
it's the
board
end
will
for-
put the
yeah.
language
I
on the
do
warrant.
hope to see you all at deliberative session, though. Please come.
It's
What is
always
the
such a
date?
good time.
Do we know that date?
I'm sure Mrs. Belcher knows the date.
February something, I'm sure.
It's like the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th. It's typically, right, it's whatever Thursday that
Thursday,
is. It's a
right?
Thursday, yeah. I don't
So-
know off the
Usually
top of my head.
always my son's birthday.
So we'll go on the school board's warrants. And it will, during deliberative session, it will come up because I don't think the budget committee would vote on this
If there's no money in the warrant, we would not vote
if there's
on
no
it.
money. So the board, Timberlane board will vote whether they, you know,
Sounds like we're
as we
having a live stream issue.
do on the other ones. Oh,
No voice. Are you getting that, Dean? Are you hearing there's no audio on live stream?
Currently or earlier?
That, it must have been earlier. I just pulled up my phone to look at the calendar now, and somebody had sent me that message.
There was something at the beginning of the meeting that's been resolved.
Oh, good, thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
So the Timberlane, Jen and I will answer questions with regards to this, but it is not another public hearing of the plan.
Okay.
I mean,
So what is the next step now?
okay, so the next step is, the next Board of Education meeting is November 21st. It's up in Woodsville, New Hampshire. I have no idea what time it is. I'll let people know. She would like, council will be attending. She would like somebody from the committee to attend. I cannot attend. I cannot take another day off of work.
I'm happy to.
Karen is happy to attend.
Thank you, Karen.
So, from here, so Karen will plan to attend that meeting, so I will be in touch with council to let her know what the vote was. And, I will make sure that the plan gets resubmitted correctly to the DOE.
Will council be up there on November 21st?
Council will
as
be
well?
there, yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. I'm, Hampstead Council may also be there too, I don't know.
Sure.
And we were going to, we will try to get this on the consent agenda, which is just a, if it's on the consent agenda, there won't really be any discussion, it will just be a vote.
And
You know,
are we
they
gonna,
just vote on a slate of things, yeah.
are we gonna send this to Hampstead Council for courtesy, or?
Hampstead Council has already seen this.
Okay.
The language?
Yeah.
Oh, and
Well, we will, now, once
now
we.
that we've approved it.
No, once we've approved it, yeah, you'll
Sweet.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we'll send this out to the Hampstead School Board too, once it's redone. We'll send the whole plan, and we will send the whole plan will be resent out. It will be sent to Hampstead, be sent up to DOE.
So another way to think about it is, we are a committee, and our deliverable to the school board is the plan.
Yeah,
Now, the school board then puts the warrant article in.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that helps
Yeah.
me frame it in my brain.
So it would be helpful if you're at deliberative should questions arise, but it's, this committee will not be taking an active
Functioning,
role.
yeah.
It will be the school board's.
And it'll be, at the, where we present all the warrants at a public hearing as well, so that will be it'll be there, it'll be read. I don't know how much discussion at the public hearing before deliberative,
It's an interesting question, because it's already had its public hearing.
but the warrant hasn't,
The warrant hasn't.
report
The
has
plan
had,
has.
the plan has had it.
I am not, I haven't talked
That's
to my
gonna be the
board.
job of the moderator.
Yeah, I'm not planning to represent
Yeah.
what I presented at the,
No, we
Public
just,
hearing
you
of
just have to present all the warrants at
When is
that.
the public hearing compared to the deliberative session?
Public hearing on the budget.
January 16th, 15th,
Warrant article.
14th, it's right in there again. I don't know the number, I don't know the date, off the- whatever that Thursday is.
Okay, thanks.
okay, well, I thank you again, and, we will put this back together and send it out to the various parties so that everybody has a copy. And, thanks. And hopefully we'll.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we will not have to meet again. Should something happen, there is another hearing of the Board of Education December 11th. So if something happens on the
I can't
24th,
imagine.
first,
This is a lot.
check
This
your
was a lot
emails on the
added.
22nd. They will vote it right then and there, just like they were gonna vote it. I think part of the reason we had time to go back and to change it.
Because we planned so well at the
Planned
beginning.
so well at the beginning, so,
Yeah,
but they,
Taskmasters.
this project manager.
so. All right, well, thank you. I think we're all set. Dean, thank you.
Okay, let me run upstairs and see if